It took Aerosmith nearly 3 decades to have a #1 hit in their home country of the United States, and they didn't even write the song. Not only that, but the song was first offered to an even bigger band who turned it down. In today's video, let's take a look at Aerosmith's only #1 hit on the Hot 100 chart. Aerosmith formed in 1970 and consists of vocalist Steven Tyler, guitarist Joe Perry, guitarist Brad Whitford, bassist Tom Hamilton, and drummer Joey Kramer. The band cut their teeth playing local clubs in Boston and began honing their sound. Their high-energy performances and Steven Tyler's charismatic stage presence quickly earned them a devoted following. By 1972, Aerosmith caught the attention of Columbia Records, landing their first major recording contract. The band's self-titled album came out in 1973, but it was their third record, 1975's Toys in the Attic, that catapulted them to stardom. The album featured such classic hits like Sweet Emotion and Walk This Way. Throughout the mid to late 70s, Aerosmith dominated the rock scene with a string of multi-platinum albums and sold-out arena tours. Hits like Dream On, Back in the Saddle, and Draw the Line made Aerosmith one of America's biggest rock bands. However, this success came at a cost. By the end of the 70s, years of non-stop touring, partying, and substance abuse had taken their toll on the group. Tensions were running high, and creative differences led to the departures of guitarist Joe Perry in 1979 and Brad Whitford in 81. The band struggled to recapture their earlier magic without 2 key members. Their 1982 album Rockin' a Hard Place failed to match the commercial success of its predecessors, and it seemed like Aerosmith were now a thing of the past. But they soon re-emerged stronger and more commercially successful. In 1984, Perry and Whitford returned to the fold, and the classic lineup recorded 1985's Done with Mirrors. Despite positive reviews, the sales were weak, with the album only going gold. It quickly became clear that the band's drug and alcohol issues were still a major problem. Throughout the next several years, the members were in and out of treatment. It wasn't until 1986 that Aerosmith began their true comeback in earnest. The band members collaborated with hip-hop group Run DMC on a groundbreaking remake of Walk This Way. The song and its iconic video introduced Aerosmith to a whole new generation of fans and reignited interest in the band. Aerosmith capitalized on this momentum with a string of hugely successful albums throughout the late 80s and early 90s, including 87's Permanent Vacation, 89's Pump, and 1993's Get a Grip, which spawned massive hit singles and music videos that were staples of MTV. Aerosmith managed to accomplish something that few bands could dream of. They reinvented themselves despite changing musical tastes and trends. But despite this, one thing still evaded the band: a #1 hit song in America. They came close. Angel, Janie's Got a Gun, and Love in an Elevator were all top 5 hits. By 1998, Aerosmith was still riding high on their second wave of success. However, their previous year's record 9 Lives hadn't quite matched the success of their previous albums. 9 Lives only went double platinum, while Get a Grip went 7 times platinum for comparison. But they were still a huge draw on the concert circuit, playing sold-out shows. Aerosmith was in need of another big hit to maintain their momentum. The summer of 1998, I remember, was pretty weird because I distinctly remember there being 2 blockbusters that summer that were almost about the same thing. In one corner, you had the film Armageddon, about an asteroid that was headed towards Earth that could wipe out the entire human race. Then in the other corner, you had another movie called Deep Impact, which was about a comet that was headed towards Earth that could literally do the same thing. Armageddon was produced by Jerry Bruckheimer and directed by Bad Boys and the rock producer Michael Bay. Armageddon ended up destroying Deep Impact at the box office, becoming the second top-grossing film of 1998. Titanic, which came out the previous year, actually made more money than Armageddon. In addition to starring Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck, Armageddon starred Steven Tyler's daughter, Liv. Liv had also appeared in Aerosmith's video for Crazy. Legendary songwriter Diane Warren was enlisted to help write a song for the movie. She had penned hit songs for Celine Dion, Toni Braxton, and LeAnn Rimes, to name a few. The movie's producers were looking for a big emotional ballad to serve as the film's love theme. Enter I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, a power ballad that became one of Aerosmith's most recognizable songs and their first and only #1 hit on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. By the way, did anyone notice that the president in Armageddon is the same president in Michael Bay's other film, The Rock? Man, that president has seen a lot. A hostage taking on Alcatraz and saving the Earth from an asteroid. Talk about a difficult presidency. Getting back to the story, what you may not know is that I Don't Want to Miss a Thing wasn't originally written for Aerosmith. Warren had originally envisioned someone maybe like Celine Dion singing the song. The inspiration for the song came from a pretty strange place, Barbra Streisand. Warren had watched an interview that Streisand and her husband James Brolin gave to Barbara Walters, where they spoke about their relationship with one another.
Cuddling in bed, is that what we're talking about?
Right. And we're
Okay.
just about to fall asleep, I thought, and he says, I don't want to fall asleep. And so I say, why not? And he says, because then I'll miss you.
Warren admitted to performing songwriter. Some of the lyrics like, I can stay awake just to hear you breathing, I'd be like, no, don't do that. Don't watch me breathe. I won't be able to sleep. Go do something else. It's so funny because part of me would never want someone to say that to me. But then again, I write it. But this sentiment struck a chord with Warren, who thought it would perfectly capture the intense emotions and urgency of the film's central romance between Ben Affleck and Liv Tyler, whose time together was unknown because of the impending asteroid. The song wasn't offered to Aerosmith initially, but rather to U2. U2 were no strangers to recording for movie soundtracks, having already done it numerous times. A song I still hear on the radio a lot is Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me from the 1995 film Batman Forever. Surprisingly though, U2 passed on the opportunity. The second choice became pretty obvious. Given Liv Tyler's appearance in the film, the producers went to Aerosmith, but the group was reluctant at first. The sentimental love ballads seemed like an odd choice given that Aerosmith were known for their sexually charged lyrics and harder rocking sound. Warren though had actually worked with Aerosmith before, telling performing songwriter, I'd written with Aerosmith before and they'd never done the songs we wrote. And Aerosmith was no stranger to working with outside songwriters. Most famously, they worked with Desmond Child on the song Dude Looks Like a Lady, and Angel. And they worked with Holly Knight on the tune Ragdoll, all from their 1987 album Permanent Vacation. Steven Tyler recalled the louder sound. I kind of knew it was a hit, but I didn't really like the song. I didn't think that the song was us. When I first heard it, it was just a demo with piano and singing. It was difficult to imagine what kind of touch Aerosmith could put on it and make it our own. He added it was only when he met Warren one day at the Sunset Marquis Hotel and sat at the piano with her that he changed his mind, adding, she was teaching me the song and I had chills all over my body as I heard it come to life with my voice. I knew it was going to be something special. Aerosmith worked with producer Matt Serletic, who by this time had most famously produced Matchbox 20's debut record, Yourself or Someone Like You, which ended up becoming one of the best-selling records of the 90s. As the band entered the studio, the big question was how to put Aerosmith's stamp on Warren's song. While the verses and choruses remained relatively similar to Warren's original composition, the band added some harder-edge guitar work to the bridge and the outro. The recording process, though, wasn't without its challenges. The band had to quickly meet the film's deadline, and they were also out on tour. As a result, the band didn't receive a songwriting credit. Looking back at the track, Joe Perry told an interviewer, at the time, we just didn't have the time to settle down and do it. We were out on the road, so they brought us in to see the movie and said, here's the song, this is where it fits into the movie. So we were in the studio within the next 3 days cutting it, and yeah, we do wish that we'd had a little more time so we could have had a shot at writing it, but it was perfect timing. The song was great, people loved it, and I don't think people cared that much who wrote it. The The song was issued to radio in late May of 1998, while Armageddon saw a theatrical release on July 1st. The song reached the #1 spot on September 5th, 1998 on the Hot 100 chart, where it stayed for 4 consecutive weeks. It was also a worldwide hit, reaching #1 in several countries including Australia, Germany, Greece, Ireland, Austria, Norway, Italy, the Netherlands, and Switzerland. As for my home country of Canada, it went to #2. The song was also nominated for an Oscar for Best Original Song in 1998, but it lost to When You Believe from The Prince of Egypt. The song was also instrumental in helping the movie soundtrack for Armageddon reach the #1 spot on the album charts. The movie soundtrack ended up going 4 times platinum. Armageddon soundtrack also featured 3 other Aerosmith tunes, including Sweet Emotion, their cover of the Beatles song Come Together, and a new song called What Kind of Love Are You On, which they had recorded for their past album 9 Lives, but it didn't make the cut. As for the music video, you'll notice that Steven Tyler is surprisingly stationary. That's because it was shot after he suffered a knee injury on tour, and he was wearing an awkward brace that restricted his movement. The video's director had to use a lot of close-up shots to compensate.
Between his surgery and an expected 12 weeks of physical therapy, the band has already postponed a month's worth of tour dates through early June. Here's what Tyler had to say about the injury on the set of the band's latest video last Saturday.
So I was doing a song called Mama Kin, and I smacked my kneecap with my microphone base, and I broke the anterior cruciate ligament. And so I'm looking at Brad and I'm going, and they got ambulance, and I came off stage and they brought me in, they got x-rays and all that, you know, as any fine thoroughbred would have done. And they said that, you know, you're gonna have to either have an operation and have to stay off it for a month.
One of the strangest things about I Don't Want to Miss a Thing is that we're so used to seeing artists cover other songs, but it normally happens years after the original song was released. That wasn't the case with this tune. The country singer Mark Chestnut covered I Don't Want to Miss a Thing in 1998, making it the title track of his 8th album. In February of 1999, Chestnut's version topped the country charts and climbed to #17 on the Hot 100, 5 months after Aerosmith hit the top spot with the original.
I don't wanna close my eyes. I don't wanna fall.
To say the song was inescapable would be an understatement. I Don't Want to Miss a Thing helped keep Aerosmith popular and introduce them to a new generation of fans. The band won the 1999 Nickelodeon Teen Choice Award for Love Song of the Year. Aerosmith even performed a snippet of it at the halftime show of the 2001 Super Bowl. In a 2008 survey conducted by cable music channel Magic TV, it was voted by UK viewers as the nation's favorite love song. As for the success of the song, drummer Joey Kramer told Louder Sound that the band were done touring behind 9 Lives, but I Don't Want to Miss a Thing's success resulted in Aerosmith staying on the road for another year, playing over 200 shows. The song was in the news again in 2015 when British heavyweight boxer Tyson Fury celebrated his upset victory over Ukraine's Vladimir Klitschko with some in-ring karaoke.
I can lay awake just to hear you breathe ever and ever, and I don't want to close my eyes.
Joe Perry remarked to Vanyaland about the performance, "I thought it was great. To belt it out like that, talk about being in shape, my hat's off to him, and to sing to his wife, he's a class act." As for how Barbra Streisand feels about inspiring the song, here's what she told Howard Stern.
You know, you had a real bad opinion of men. I mean, your husband helped change that, right?
Yeah, totally.
That song, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, is based on your husband.
Can you believe it?
That's some
He
story.
said that to me, and I repeated it on TV with Barbara Walters. I mean, what a thing to say.
It's the most romantic thing I've ever heard.
I know.
He says to you, Barbara, I don't want to go to
We're both in a
sleep.
spoon. We're spooning. You know, we've done our bits, whatever. And I'm about to fall asleep, and he says that to me. in my
What do you
ear.
say exactly?
I don't want to fall asleep because then I'll miss you. Oh, my
Holy
God.
mackerel.
Okay, yes, I'll marry you.
And that's how this song got written.
That's right. Diane
Isn't that
Warren
crazy?
was watching, she told me. wrote it down. It was a powerful line, right?
That does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again on Rock and Roll True Stories. Take care.